Welcome back to Driven by Dreamz. Today, I'm thrilled to have Kailin Weatherspoon, the CEO and founder of TenStrat. As a senior marketing leader, Kailin has a track record of driving e-commerce growth through next-level strategies that maximize revenue, enhance customer lifetime value, and optimize performance using data-driven insights. She's passionate about creating seamless online experiences that strengthen brand loyalty and accelerate success for businesses at every stage. Stay tuned as we unpack valuable insights and strategies. Hi, Kailin. It's wonderful to have you here.
Hi, I'm really excited to be here as well. Thank you.
I'd love to hear more about you and your experiences, so could you share a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Kailin. I am the CEO and co-founder of a company called TenStrat Performance Marketing. We are currently small boutique marketing agency here in San Diego, and we specialize in Google Ads, SEO, conversion rate optimization, pretty much anything to get your business scaling quickly. So that's our skill set for sure.
So, what motivated you to start TenStrat?
Yeah, so my business partners and I had worked for over 20 years on the marketing side, working on client marketing side. So we led marketing teams of 2 to 20 people for large and small brands here in San Diego. We all worked for startups, we worked for mid-sized companies throughout our careers, and then we actually all met working for Petco, corporate Petco here in San Diego. And we had worked for so many years with agencies, and we just felt like the agency model was kind of broken, and we were consistently feeling like let down by marketing agencies. And so during COVID, we decided, hey, we could possibly do this better than some of the agencies we worked with. And so on a whim, we just decided to start doing some client work on the side, seeing if it was something we wanted to do, and it really took off. And so we started TenStrat with a goal of, again, kind of like breaking out of the old agency models. So what's unique about TenStrat is that we only hire people who have about 10 years of experience within their field. So that means our clients get expertise from start to finish. So we come in and we do a strategy session, really give them our recommendations for growing and scaling their business, but then you'll also get to work with us all the way through. So we don't ever hand anything off for execution. So you get that solid executive level strategy all the way through, which is great.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when you started your company?
Biggest challenges. It's a great question. I think just going from always relying on a paycheck, I was always given just that corporate salary. I knew it was going to be there regardless. To really having to make sure that I was driving my own paycheck every month, and that was obviously daunting for the first time. And then also just the general setup of a company. I think for most people when they start companies, they're like, yeah, I would love to do it, but it just seems like a lot of work to get it all set up and running. And so I was fortunate to have some business partners who were skilled in that area, but I definitely was concerned and was, challenged by that whole process because my skill set is marketing, not really business administration. So I would say those are the biggest ones. And then also just really understanding how to be my own self-regulator, I guess is a good way of saying that. So like, I'm answering to myself, and we work all remotely, so making sure that we were disciplined enough to stay, in kind of a regular work schedule and keeping our motivation high, even though we were all separate and not in one office together, I think were some of the biggest challenges we had.
You mentioned that your skill set wasn't business administration, so how did you adapt to that?
I think every entrepreneur has to be able to wear many hats, and I think everyone I talk to says they at some point within their business have pretty much done every single thing. And so I would love to give you some eloquent thing of how I figured out how to adapt, but the reality is I just did it. Just dove in and took the leap and made it happen. And I think that's probably my best advice is don't overthink it and just make it happen and adapt as much as you can, because pretty much every person has the ability to do everything, and so really there's not really any hurdles that should exist for anybody, especially in today's world. So that's pretty much it. I just jumped right in and made it happen.
So you built teams and mentored many professionals. So what qualities do you think are essential for success in the marketing industry today?
Whew. I would say being able to adapt, like we just talked about, is a really big one. We have ever-changing technologies, obviously with the onset of AI. We have to not be stuck in our ways and just know that you are never an expert in everything because it's constantly changing. And so, I worked 20 years in marketing and I felt like I had seen it all. And the reality is I haven't, right? Every single day I'm having to learn a new technology. And I think just being open to know that you're never going to stop learning and growing and having that constant improvement mindset, I think is really, really critical, not just in marketing, but in pretty much every field, especially today. Um, and I think also just, keeping your network always open is another thing I would say, because as you're a business owner, you have to, I like to use the words with my own children, like never burn a bridge, and also know that that bridge could lead to something in the future. And I would say everybody you encounter could be a potential client or a potential lead or a potential partner in the future. So you want to always keep those doors open and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward to everybody in that regard. So I think those are some of the biggest ones I would say, for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
How has the role of marketing in a business changed since when you first started out? Has technology impacted that in any way?
Yeah, it's a great, great question. I love that question. When I first started, everything was very channel focused. So you would have people come in and you say, I'm going to market myself. And I'm going to do it on TV because that's what everybody does who has money. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invest in TV and I'm going to grow my business and it's going to happen overnight. Or I'm going to do email marketing or I'm going to do whatever. And I would say, both from a professional standpoint as well as from like a marketing strategy standpoint, that's how a lot of businesses approached it. And I've watched over the years with the ability to track and analyze every single click and activity that a client takes, not just online, but offline as well. What we're seeing is a huge shift. Obviously, we saw the shift from, again, very siloed channel focused to now to a kind of an integrated approach. So there was a lot of conversation around like making sure your messaging was consistent. All that still applies. But I would say now you have to understand that a client or a customer is going to interact with you on average 7 to 8 times before they ever even purchase from you or come and actually step in your doors. And they're going to do that across every possible channel, I guess you could say. So they're going to maybe see you on TV, not so much anymore, but maybe they're going to see you on an ad or on YouTube. They're going to watch you on social media. Maybe they're going to check out a LinkedIn profile. Maybe they're going to look at your website. They're going to look at your reviews. So you have to be able to show up in all of those spaces and be present. We like to tell our clients it's great to track its awareness, but you have to be there when they're ready to convert. And the funnel, the old marketing funnel, used to be so consistent, and now it's more of a circle. And I think the key is being in the conversation when the client's ready, but also being there as a part of the conversation and in aiding in kind of an authentic conversation with the client so that you're first of mind when it happens. So I think that's the biggest change I've seen happen.
What's your process for developing a marketing strategy that not only drives immediate results, but also aligns with long-term brand goals?
Yeah, great question as well. This has not changed over the years, and I think it's pretty much tried and true best practice, is you can't have a marketing strategy until you understand the business objective, right? So like you have to know, let's say, for example, I want to grow from 1 million to 5 million or even 50 million to 100 million, and I want to do it in X amount of time. You never ever should develop a marketing plan until you have that objective. The second thing is you have to understand the pieces that are dependent on the marketing, right? So I should say that in reverse, that the marketing is dependent on. So for example, you could have the most beautiful campaign in the world, but if you send a client or a customer or a business to your doorstep and you can't actually convert that customer, you can't have an educated conversation or provide what they need, it's going to fall flat. So I would say never ever start a marketing plan or a marketing strategy or invest $1 until you have the operational pieces in place because you're wasting your money. So we always start first with the business objective and understand really what are the drivers in the business. So what types of levers do we have within the business to make it work? What are the margins on the product? What are the conversion rates when a customer calls in or goes on the website? And so understanding all the pieces in that business that make sense, then you go to, okay, next, what are the pieces that we can put in place to make that business, that marketing plan the most effective? And that might be the company is really reliant right now on return customers. Maybe we need to build out their new customer base to drive a longer pace of growth. That might be, we need to cut back and make our marketing more efficient because we're too dependent upon, high paid strategy or too much awareness marketing. A lot of our clients we see are actually spending too much in one area and they're not looking at that full circular funnel like we like to talk about. And so it might be balancing out, or it might be just reallocating spend. And so I think my biggest call out there is, and obviously there's a million different pieces to developing a marketing plan, but my biggest call out there would be that you always are focused on the end goal and that you're understanding the business dynamics and the business metrics before you ever invest $1 in marketing. Okay.
So, with AI becoming more integrated into marketing, how do you balance automated processes with the human element of creative marketing?
Yeah. So I think this is something that everybody is tackling today. I would love to tell you that I'm an expert. Again, growth mindset, never an expert in this one. I think there are new AI technologies coming out every single second, I swear. In fact, I just had a meeting with my business partners today and we talked extensively about some new platforms that we've all been introduced to. I think the biggest key is to understand that there's a couple things. So if you look at our world that we have on the Google side, Google has actually penalized several publishers or brands, I could say, for leaning too heavy, for example, into AI content. They actually know and they can see when brands are doing too much automated content, meaning they have the ability in their wonderful black box to say, hey, that's flagging to me as AI. So you always have to constantly make sure that you're authentic, that you're putting your voice and your expertise in, and I think that's something that probably the human brain will always be in control with, is the authenticity piece, right? But I will say AI is phenomenal for efficiencies, right? So being able to do and take manual processes that probably would normally be handled by someone who has a little bit less experience and being able to automate those things within AI. The other thing I love to use AI for is it's just kind of a second set of brainstorming. So we may have some ideas in our brain, but being able to dump some of that, for example, into ChatGPT and say, hey, what are some things we're forgetting? Or what are some things we should be looking at? And using that as a brainstorming tool for us has been really, really helpful. But again, I think the biggest piece for me is that you have to always remember that AI is a technology and you need to show up with your authentic, true voice for your brand and your authentic, true imaging, because customers can see right through all that. No matter how the fancy technology or the fancy, the ability to pump out videos or the ability to do whatever is fantastic, but it's an operational piece. So always staying true and authentic, I think, will always be the brands that win in this space for sure.
How does the best way companies should market themselves vary based on what type of company they are?
Oh, goodness. That is a great question. I think that would probably take an entire hour for us to talk through. But I think, the biggest thing is to understand your customers, right? So how are your customers finding you, or how are you solving a problem for your customers? For example, if you have a company that is highly experiential or has a product that may be a higher price point and really requires quite a bit of hand-holding, or you're selling almost an experience that's quite high priced, it's probably not going to work extremely well on a digital ads campaigns immediately. Now, digital ads combined with other campaigns, phenomenal, but you're going to have to do a little bit more storytelling. So that in that situation, again, it's just really understanding. It's less about the product and it's more of understanding where are my customers that I'm trying to find, and really start there, right? So for example, you have a product that's really, really focused on women and they have to understand the product really well. A great methodology is to start with organic social, really explaining the product, getting your voice out there. It's very cheap, it's free, right? You can boost posts for pretty much nothing. And then, from there, understanding your customer insights. You can get a lot of information out of that and using that to scale into other areas as well. So I don't want to give you kind of a cookie cutter answer there, but it's really just the one thing I would say is understand your customers first and where are they congregating and how could you, and not even just like where are they today, but what other things are they leaning into to find that type of service? Are they leaning into friends? Are they leaning into maybe a resource that's online? Maybe they're walking into a store. What's their journey? What are they doing? And then you want to, just as I mentioned before, show up in that path. Be there when they're having that conversation and be a friend to them so that they know that they can rely on you and find you, and that's how you gain their trust.
How's the best way you find out that where are your customers coming from?
Yeah, there's so many tools out there today to find that out. My company, being the fact that we're performance marketing, we lean heavily into analytics tools, but also Google pretty much, 99% of the world is searching in their lives on Google. I literally was just spending a second ago searching for something for my son on Google. And so, that is probably the best place to start is your analytics platform. But then secondarily, just doing quick searches within Google Ads is a great way of saying it, or within your search consoles, because understanding what types of searches are people doing around your product. So if I say, for example, I'm an aviation company, how are people finding me? What are people looking at? What kinds of things are they searching for? I think that's a really good way to start and understand that problem. We have a client who handles, it's a medical spa, right? And they have a problem where they're trying to tackle how do we find women with a certain problem. And so just understanding, hey, maybe those women aren't searching for your service directly, but they're searching for a problem. They have a problem and they want to solve that problem. And then just using that to kind of spiral into, okay, if I were this person, where would I find that solution? So I think in today's world, you can lean into pretty much every single technology and free technologies. I think anybody could start a business today, start up a Google Ads account, or even just use it for insight, and start up Google Analytics, and you pretty much have a lot of information at your fingertips.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Kailin. As an entrepreneur, how have you grown, and what are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned along the way?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I feel like our business has been in business for 3 years, and I feel like from start to finish, I am a different person, and we're not done. We're nowhere near done. I think the biggest way that I've grown, in the beginning, I was all about getting it done fast. I just wanted everything done fast. I wanted to make sure that we could move as quick as possible, as fast as possible, and I didn't want to second guess it. I just wanted to grow. That was my idea. I think what I've had to learn the most is that growth is amazing and it's good, and you should never second guess yourself too much to get, to paralyze your decisions. But you should lean into people who've done it before and ask their advice, because there's a reason they're in your circle of trust, and so you should make sure that you kind of get their feedback and learn from them. And then also sometimes being slow to, taking a minute to breathe and analyze the situation is the best for you as well, because I can tell you there were several things in the beginning that we almost jumped into that I'm so glad, looking back, that we didn't. And I think it would have probably killed us as a company if we did, but they were opportunities that landed on our plate. So I think, there's that. And then I think also, I got involved in a lot of networking groups, not only that, but learning groups, and just being able to really build up a circle of trusted advisors around me has been so valuable. I don't think you're ever too old to have a mentor. And that, I have mentors of all ages. I have mentors who are in their 20s who've done interesting things, and I have mentors all the way up till 86 years old, because they've learned something and they've taught me something along the way. And so I would say those are kind of the biggest lessons I've had over time, and I'm still learning.
That's amazing. So, could you share a book, podcast, or resource that has significantly influenced your career?
Oh, goodness. I feel like I don't have any time to do any of that, to be honest with you. I'm involved in the EO organization, and so, we've really tapped into the book Traction from an EOS perspective. And so EOS, for those of you who don't know, is an operating system that really helps you as an entrepreneur set up your business and make sure that you are not just within the business itself, but within like business partners or within, leadership, everybody's wearing the right role and you can operate efficiently and moving forward. And so I think for someone setting up their business, I think that's a phenomenal book to start with. I think the other one that I read early on in my career that still sticks in my mind is the good old Good to Great. I think that's a great one for everybody to read and should be a required reading, I think, for anybody in the business space, because I think that's fantastic. You know, very true transparency. I do a lot of business during my day, so I love true crime podcasts. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, which is so funny, but that is not, influential, but that's basically how I spend my day. So,
Well, I think that's a good place to end this. So, as we wrap up, if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
oh, that's a great question. Um, my, I think the one piece of advice I would give my younger self is to slow down and enjoy the moment and understand that everything will happen as it's supposed to happen. And sometimes forcing it to happen isn't the best approach. I think when I was young and straight out of college and I got to climb the corporate ladder, that's my path, that's what I'm going to do. And I was so focused on that I didn't take the time to stop and really appreciate all that I was learning and all that I was doing. And I know a lot of people who are older say that to younger people, but you get to be my age. I'm 42. You get to that age and you go, gosh, I really wish I would have listened to that advice, because it all truly does happen in the end. It all gets there the way you want it to do, and it's all going to happen in the right time. And I think if you can just understand that and know that and appreciate the steps along the way that get you there, every step up the ladder and every step in your career is the right step, no matter what. Even if it happens to be the wrong step for now, you're going to learn something from that in the future. And I think I just had tunnel vision and I was so focused on it that I think I wish somebody had just kind of taken me and stopped me and told me not to.
Well, thank you so much, Galen, and I've really learned a lot.
Absolutely. This was super fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you.